If we saw Donald Trump sitting down in a black household eating fried chicken with a father and a son, what would we say? What would we say? What would we say? You know folks out there would be calling it racist.
We're going to get Joe Biden out there and he's going to sit with a black family. Oh, great. Let's bring fried chicken. I hear they like that. President Joe Biden's broken brain and his despicable pandering. Here he is talking to a handful of students from historic black colleges. This was audio only, so Lord knows what Joe Biden was wearing at the time. But here, take a listen.
President Biden, I'm actually, just to let you know, I'm one of those HBCU graduates. I graduated from Johnson C. Smith University. I'm a fifth generation Smithite right here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Whoa.
Yes. So
I'm Delaware State, so we gotta the vice president and I have an ongoing debate on what's the best HBCU in America.
Delaware State? First of all, by the way, I'm thrilled that she loves the historic black colleges and that she's celebrating her alma mater. She really should thank Donald Trump, who was the first president in American history to give permanent funding status to historically black colleges. But of course, we can't talk about that. Instead, we have to play chummy with a man who is so white he literally blends into the white background you see on the picture in front of you, or the white note card with all of his cheat sheets as he's sitting there. And Joe Biden now makes the claim that he went to Delaware State. Well, he did not go to Delaware State for a couple of reasons. First of all, he went to University of Delaware. He was a blue hen. Fill in your punchline on your own. And he didn't go to Delaware State because, well, may I remind you, it's a historically black college. And he is historically not black. But that doesn't stop him from pandering on race. You know, the last time we checked on Joe Biden pandering on race, he was sitting with a black family eating fried chicken. Remember that? We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. And it was, objectively speaking, racist. We're going to get Joe Biden out there and he's going to sit with a black family. Oh, great. Let's bring fried chicken. I hear they like that. And thankfully, credit where it's due, Stephen A. Smith on his show, he pointed it out. Why is he the only one? Well, he and I are the only ones pointing it out.
Because, ladies and gentlemen, if we're being fair, if we saw Donald Trump sitting down in a black household eating fried chicken with a father and a son, what would we say? What would we say? What would we say? You know folks out there would be calling it racist. Well, if it's racist for him, and I'm not saying it would be, but if it's racist for him, why wouldn't it be racist for Biden?
Well, of course, the answer is it is. The reason we don't call it out is because he's got a D after his name, and just Democrats can't be racist. I mean, except for when they invented the Klan and supported segregation and the Confederacy and slavery. And other than that, though, they can't possibly be racist. Come along, Stephen. Now you're gonna get it soon. Take your time. You're very close. But that's just Joe Biden being an inept, pandering racist. What about his broken brain? What about his inability to read from a teleprompter the size of Jerry Jones's Jumbotron at AT&T Field for Dallas Cowboys games? Have you ever seen a shot of the teleprompter he uses? Seriously, it's gigantic. And here he is delivering remarks yesterday, prepared remarks on the teleprompter, and he just can't do it. Look at his face. Look at him having trouble even seeing the giant words in front of him.
Fair competition is the key to my economic vision. To build an economy from the middle out and the bottom up, not the top down. And it's working. Wages are up more than prices. Unemployment has reached historic lows. Families are finally getting a little breathing room.
Number one, wages are not up more than prices. Inflation is still historically high, especially compared to when he took office. And number two, Did you catch the very beginning of this?
Fair competition is the key to my economic vision.
His economic fission? Fission? He either can't read or he can't speak, or he has no actual comprehension for the English language, or it could be all of the above. It's up to you. But there's more.
With that, I'm going to turn this over to Lael, the Director of National Economic Council. But I'm supposed to leave for a meeting with the Business Roundtable on the telephone. But I'm going to hang around and listen a little bit. So with your permission, I'd like to stay if you, and my staff will tell me when the drop dead hour occurs.
Maybe we shouldn't use the term drop dead hour with a man in his current state. But you know how we keep hearing from people who work with Biden, either on the staff or from Capitol Hill, elected officials, who keep telling us that he's on the top of his game. He's got a command of all the facts and data. He's impressive. He's unbelievable. He does triple backflips in the middle of a meeting. This is the guy we see. Is it me? Is someone lying here? So he's asking permission if he can stick around. He says his staff will tell him his drop dead moment. And then while he's sitting there reading notes, a reporter asks him a question.
I love questions. I better not start the questions. I'll get in trouble.
What's your message for Super Tuesday voters? Everyone, please move this way. Super Tuesday, sir. Do you have a message for voters?
Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Listen, I stand behind no man in my ability and desire to mock this man, make fun of him, and drag him whenever possible, because he's a bad guy. He's always been a bad guy. He's the worst in American politics. He's corrupt. He's a preener. He's a liar. He's contemptible. He holds his political adversaries not as opponents, but as enemies. And he holds the voters of his political enemies in contempt. So he deserves to be trashed. But I want to watch this video with you one more time. And we're going to watch it from the perspective of whether we are seeing an individual in distress. I want you to watch his eyes. I'll turn the sound off after he says that he's going to get in trouble if he answers questions. Watch this.
I love questions. I better not start the questions. I'll get in trouble.
Now watch his eyes and watch him looking at the handlers, at the staff, at the people running things at the White House. Clearly, he's not running anything at the White House. Doesn't he look scared? Doesn't he look like he's drifting? Doesn't he look like he's lost it? I mean, what is happening in this White House? Daily, we are seeing events like this. And I truly think he's being mishandled, misused, honestly, maybe even abused or mistreated in some way. Here, let me show you an example. He's about to go up the short stairs at Air Force One, and a reporter asks a completely benign question that, of course, he flies off the handle at. The question is, and you got a jet engine roaring here. This is his idea of a press conference. He'll only answer questions when there's a giant jet engine running in the background. But the question is, what's your message to Democrats who are concerned about your poll numbers, right? Watch.
Mr. President, what's your message to Democrats who are concerned about your poll numbers?
My poll numbers, the last 5 polls you guys didn't report, I'm winning. 5 in a row. You guys only look at the New York Times, they're a great paper.
Last 5 polls, I'm winning, and you won't report it. Yeah, you know, if there's one thing about the media, they are just so unfair to Joe Biden. They never give him a fair break, right? I mean, that's, if we can all agree on one thing about the media, they're in the tank for Donald Trump. Last 5 polls, I'm winning. Here's the latest polls dating back to mid-February. That would be 3 weeks worth of polls at Real Clear Politics. If you look, I'm seeing only 4 polls that Trump is not leading. One of them is a tie. And the 2 that show Biden in the lead, he's up by 1 point. The one poll, Quinnipiac, that shows Biden up by 4, you got to go back to February 15th for that one. He mentioned the New York Times. The New York Times poll has him down by 4 points, actually. CBS News, he's also down by 4, with Trump topping out at 52%. In fact, Joe Biden has not led Donald Trump in the Real Clear Politics average of polls since mid-November. That's over 3 months now. And right now, Donald Trump has his largest lead. Now, I delivered that news to you and those facts to you in contrast to what you just saw from Joe Biden when he emphatically told that reporter that he's led in the last 5 in a row, right? 5 in a row, he said. And I ask you to evaluate these 2 bits of information. Joe Biden thinking that he's leading in the last 5 polls in a row, and the actual facts that show, well, quite the opposite. And I leave you to ponder and come up with your own answer. Is Joe Biden just flat out lying? Or are Joe Biden's handlers lying to him? When he has his briefing with his political team and he says, what are the polls looking like? Do they walk in saying, perfect, they're great, they're amazing, boss, you're trouncing him, everything's great, don't you worry. And then they look at each other, they look at their watch, and they say, is it time? Is it time yet? Is it time? When do we tell him? Do you want to tell him? I don't want to tell him. Who's going to tell him? Because I think that's actually what's happening here. I think Joe Biden actually does think that his economy is going great guns. I actually think Joe Biden truly believes that he's closed the border. At this point, I think Joe Biden really does think that he's trouncing Trump in the polls. Or he's a big fat liar. Either way. You know what? Let's check in with comedy legend Dana Carvey on his podcast with fellow SNL alum David Spade, because they sum up exactly here where Joe Biden is. And let me just tell you, when popular culture comedians like this are willing to expose Joe Biden, boy, this is a shift in the tide.
I started with Biden because the border's all the rage now. Everyone's crazy for the border. Mm-hmm. So I did Biden 3 years ago, and he's at a press conference. Mr. President, do you have any idea how you're going to handle the crisis at the border? And Biden's like, first of all, let's get our facts straight. There's no crisis at the border. Come on. And he goes, how do you know, sir? He goes, because it says so on the piece of paper. Come on. It says on the paper. Says the paper right there. And then recently, everyone wants to close the border. Everyone's screaming. Biden's up there. I'll close the border harder than anyone's ever closed the border. I know how to close borders. Come on, Jack. And the press is like, but last time, get your facts straight. I'll beat you the hell out of you. Will you dog paste phone his shoulder? Come on, let's do some push-ups. I'll close the border like nobody's ever closed it. The border patrol, the border can't believe it's not butter.
That's a good ending.
It's great ending. And again, funnier than anything you're going to see on Saturday Night Live in the last, 10 years. And certainly funnier than anything Jon Stewart's going to deliver on The Daily Show. Let me tell you, when that happens, when Dana Carvey and David Spade are just fine doing that, things are looking up. I promise you. As Andrew Breitbart used to say, politics downstream from culture, especially popular culture.